This morning's scripture is from John 20, beginning at verse 1. John 20, beginning at verse 1. Early on the first day of the week, while it was still dark, Mary Magdalene came to the tomb and saw that the stone had been removed from the tomb. So she ran and went to Simon Peter and the other disciple, the one whom Jesus loved, and said to them, "They have taken the Lord out of the tomb, and we do not know where they have laid him." Then Peter and the other disciple set out and went toward the tomb. The two were running together, but the other disciple outran Peter and reached the tomb first. He bent down to look in and saw the linen wrappings lying there, but he did not go in. Then Simon Peter came, following him, and went into the tomb. He saw the linen wrappings lying there, and the cloth that had been on Jesus' head, not lying with the linen wrappings, but rolled up in a place by itself. Then the other disciple who reached the tomb first also went in, and he saw and believed. For as yet they did not understand the scripture, that he must rise from the dead. Then the disciples returned to their homes. But Mary stood weeping outside the tomb. As she wept, she bent over to look into the tomb, and she saw two angels in white sitting where the body of Jesus had been lying, one at the head and the other at the feet. They said to her, "Woman, why are you weeping?" She said to them, "They have taken away my Lord, and I do not know where they have laid him." When she had said this, she turned round and saw Jesus standing there, but she did not know that it was Jesus. Jesus said to her, "Woman, why are you weeping? For whom are you looking?" Supposing him to be the gardener, she said to him, "Sir, if you have carried him away, tell me where you have laid him, and I will take him away." Jesus said to her, "Mary." She turned and said to him in Hebrew, "Rabboni," which means teacher. Jesus said to her, "Do not hold on to me, because I have not yet ascended to the Father. But go to my brothers and say to them, I am ascending to my Father and your Father, to my God and your God." Mary Magdalene went and announced to the disciples, "I have seen the Lord." And she told them all that he had said. She told him that he had said these things to her. Good Friday is not difficult to understand. Good Friday, we know. We know of unjust suffering, unjust oppression, unjust killing. We see that all the time. We see wars of aggression begun by people without conscience. We see people oppressed, imprisoned, even killed unjustly all the time. It's not hard to grasp Good Friday. And it goes beyond just unjust suffering inflicted by other people. A colleague of mine in a neighboring county conducted a funeral yesterday for a 2-month-old, of all days to have a funeral for a 2-month-old. That happens. And in the time of Jesus, it happened more frequently, much more frequently than it does now. People get diseases. People have things happen to their health before their time. Whatever that time is, it comes. That was well known in Jesus' day. Crucifixion was not unknown. It wasn't unique to Jesus. There were 2 others, in fact, being crucified that day. The torturing to death of potential or actual insurrectionists by the Roman occupiers was common. It was their principal way of intimidating those who would seek to question their oppression. It's also not unusual for those in positions of power to be threatened by those who challenge them, who challenge their legitimacy, who challenge their interpretations of sacred texts. That happens, and it didn't just happen 2,000 years ago. It happens now. False witnessing, false testimony is not hard to understand. We see it over and over and over again. If someone thinks they can get away with it, they'll try. Good Friday is not hard to understand. Mary understood what had happened. She didn't like it, but she understood it. She has the purpose of going to honor as best she can the body of Jesus. She comes and sees something, again, maybe not hard to understand. Grave robbery, as horrid as it is, also happens. And it happened then. Someone decides they want that tomb. Someone decides to see if they can get the valuables from the corpse or get some other way of taking advantage. Grave robbery happens. She comes and sees the tomb open and the body, at least as far as she can tell, is missing. And again, this is horrible, but she understands it. She's heard of this happening. And she goes to find those who have hidden themselves away. The men who proved unreliable. Again, not hard to understand. She finds them, she knows where they are, and she finds them and says, the tomb is empty. And Peter and the other disciple decide to come see what that's about. The empty tomb. They run, they have a race to the tomb. And they see. They look, they see, they go around and check a while. They go in and they believe. What did they believe? Well, they believed, just like Mary told us, the tomb is empty. That's what they believed. They believed the final indignity of their friend had taken place. Someone had stolen the body, for sure. Now, it doesn't look like a grave robbery. Why would you take a body and carefully leave the grave clothes? But surely this is what's happened. They believe the grave is empty. Mary's come back with them. She goes in and she hears this most amazing thing. This body you're looking for isn't here. You know that. What she's not prepared for, what doesn't work for her, is he's risen. That's what she can't believe in all of her experience. In all of human experience that she knows about, those who are dead stay dead. Who can grasp what's being told her? This one you saw die, this one you saw buried, is alive. And she can't grasp it. It's something she's weeping for, and weeping out of sadness, anger perhaps, confusion, being overwhelmed. And she hears a voice behind her. Woman, why are you weeping? And she's prepared, maybe, for a voice. Who's ever in charge of this tomb? Who's ever near this garden, taking care of it? She turns around and says, they've taken my Lord away. Somebody's robbed the grave. Did you take his body? Was this not supposed to be where he was buried? Did you take the body because you thought someone had stolen the tomb and you've put him somewhere else? If you have, then I'll go take care of the body. It's okay. I understand maybe things were confused and we maybe used the wrong tomb. Or they used the wrong tomb. That I understand. I grasp that. And I'll take care of it. And then it comes through. Then she hears her own name. And she hears her own name from the voice above all voices she wanted to hear speak it. She doesn't understand it yet. She doesn't grasp it yet. But she does grasp, this is the voice I want to hear. This is the voice I thought I'd never hear again. When my mother died, we didn't immediately change her voice on the voicemail for her phone. Some of you remember calling and leaving voicemails. We didn't change it. And so when my aunt called her house and my mother's voice came through the voicemail, it completely freaked her out, as it would. Because after all, she was calling to find out about funeral arrangements. And we changed the outgoing voicemail right away after that happened. When you hear a voice you thought you'd never hear again, it's unsettling, but it gets through. It gets through. This is the voice I want to hear. And so she grabs him and maybe begins planning to plant one right where she wants to plant one. And he says, don't hold on to me. Maybe he's still sore from the crucifixion. but he knows where he's going. And he knows right now, don't hold on to me. Right now, you've got a mission. Go and tell my brothers. Not go tell those worthless disciples that abandoned me. Don't go tell that Peter who denied me, what a coward. No. Go tell my brothers that I am risen. It takes a while. John's going to tell us how long it takes. It takes more than just one word, more than an empty tomb. It takes grasping it and believing above everything else that what we don't understand, what we can't grasp, what is nevertheless true. The one who was dead, the one who was murdered by the state, the one who was unjustly accused and unjustly executed, that one, the one that we loved above all else, that one is the one who is alive. And because of that, any despair we may feel is always tinged with hope. Hope that the very worst thing is not the last thing. The last thing, the thing that brings us here not only this Sunday, but every Sunday. Jesus is risen.